It's Christmas time again. The shops, the markets, the children, everything's saying Happy Christmas and season's greetings. Hello, I'm Keith Garner from Wesley Mission. Father Christmas has such a central part of the celebrations of Christmas, not only in Australia, but all around the world. And we're going to take a journey around the world. I'd like you to accompany me as we look at the three fathers of Christmas and see how those three fathers of Christmas inform our understanding and celebration of Christmas today. We begin our journey in Finnish Lapland. And here I am in Rovaniemi. We're actually 8 kilometres north of there because I'm actually stood on the Arctic Circle. So there's no guessing who our first father of Christmas is. I suppose for many people, the favourite Father Christmas has to be that jolly old character who looks as though he's had far too much Christmas pudding for his own good. Well, we're here at Santa Village and he's preparing for his annual worldwide trip to give presents to children. Let's go meet the man himself.
Oh, hello, Keith.
Delighted to see you.
Nice to see you and warmly welcome to the Arctic Circle.
Well, thanks.
How was the trip, huh?
A long trip.
It's a long trip, isn't it?
Yes, yes. You're used to those kind of trips, but for me, it's a long trip. Thanks for seeing us in the grotto here.
No problem. Pleasure and honor.
Now, one of the things that's certainly traditional all over the world is that people, when they come to see Santa, wherever you are stationed, as it were, at that time, they bring their lists of presents.
Oh, yeah.
What's the most unusual thing that you've ever?
Well, this many years ago, there was this one boy, 6 years, and he was asking, this is going back 25, 30 years, and instead of cars or tractors or lorries or these things, he wanted to have kitchen stuff, you know, kettles and pans and things. And I thought, you know, well, why does he want that? But I gave them to him, and next year he wanted some more, and now he's a famous cook now.
So making money all over the world now.
Well, it's not that, but he does it from heart. He does it from heart.
Yes.
And he always knew. I've actually talked with him now in his adult years, and he says, yeah, he always knew this is his.
Santa, I've been looking around in this grotto here. Some wonderful things here. You've got your own pots and toys. What are these books? These fascinating books on
these are some of the books I brought from my house where I actually live, which is up in Korvatunturi Fell, but it's a very secret place because there we have all the Christmas secrets. So I couldn't invite you there. But some of the important books I have is a different information about different countries. There's one book, it says chimneys, so that has all the constructions of different types of chimneys.
You need to know that.
I need to know, yeah, otherwise I'm in trouble.
Has it been a special year of Christmas here for you?
Okay, that's a difficult one. Every year is special. But of course it's special when you see children, you know, even age of 9 or 10 or 15 years, and they've never seen snow. And then they come in here, they all cover with snow, it's great. And
yesterday we saw the reindeers and we enjoyed playing around with the reindeers, and they were giving us some butt as well, you know, as we were there. Tell us, you've obviously you've got a team of helpers as well.
Oh yes, of course, because there's so many things to do for Christmas preparations and things. But of course, one good thing about Christmas is it's always exactly the same time of the year. So you can plan, and the reindeer are very important for me, especially of course Rudolph. Every kid knows Rudolph. They're very nice animal. Sometimes maybe a little stubborn, but don't mention this to anybody.
We'll keep that little secret.
Yeah, sure.
Look, thank you for letting us into your grotto to share the magic of something of the part of Christmas. We've all enjoyed that, I'm sure, and having the privilege of meeting one very important part of Christmas. Came here to the post office just to look round, and would you believe it, his helpers got me as a helper for the morning. And look at all this mail that there is to sort through here, letters from all over the world. I can't believe there's more. Here we are from Finland, of course, from Poland. Here we are, Adelaide, South Australia. One from Tasmania. Gosh, all over.
Eikö tuo meidän uusi poika ei tee kyllä kovin kovasti.
Argentina. There we are. Sydney.
Christmas, well, I'm from Ireland, so I prefer the kind of the snow and the cold weather, but I don't know, it's going to be different this year.
Yeah, it means, for me, it means snow, which is going to be a bit of a struggle, I think.
Happy memories of a childhood, I think. I think Christmases lose their impact as time goes on. Nothing quite captures the excitement you have when you're a very small child with your pillowcase hanging on the end of your bed, and that wake up at 3 o'clock, put your hand in and you know he's been. I think it's a pity when all that charm gradually disappears.
After the break, we'll take a look at what history can tell us about the beginnings of Santa Claus. And we'll also get a hint of who our second father of Christmas is.
This program is brought to you by Wesley Mission.
Merry Christmas from Wesley Mission!
For almost 200 years, Wesley Mission has cared for the poor, the hurt and the marginalised in Sydney, throughout New South Wales and beyond.
Different people get different things out of Christmas, so it's just natural it's going to be that way, and I don't think we should worry about it.
Yeah, it's become a bit commercial when you have all these sales, advertisements all over the places.
Well, I think it's been commercial for a lot of years. It's not just now.
Some people make it too commercial, but if you don't want it to be made too commercial, you just won't let it be it.
I think probably Santa is commercialism, isn't he?
There's not enough focus on what was originally Christmas was all about with Santa Claus and Father Christmas.
Poor old Santa Claus has come in for a great deal of criticism recently. People say he's become too commercialised, which is kind of ironic, you know, when you think that Santa Claus has been launched by the commercial world. Coca-Cola was one of those companies that saw Santa's sales potential. During Christmas 1931, Santa Claus was launched on Coca-Cola's bottles, billboards, and their magazines, all to promote their product. Wherever Coca-Cola was sold in the world, Santa Claus was there to promote it. And this was to continue for the next 35 years. When you look at Santa Claus, he seems as old as Methuselah. But don't let his appearance fool you. When it comes to Christmas traditions, Santa Claus is really the new boy on the block, the latest of the three fathers of Christmas. There are several different legends that tell us about Santa Claus' childhood. One of the most popular stories was written in the 1940s. Like all good stories, it starts off once upon a time. It's stated that Santa was an orphan who grew up in a village around the Baltic Sea. Local villagers decided to take care of him, each family looking after Santa for a month. Before Santa departed, he crafted a small wooden doll for the children of the household. In time, when he grew up, he moved to the North Pole and started making gifts for children all over the world. History seems a little confused about Santa Claus' beginnings. The most common historical records state that Dutch settlers arrived to New Amsterdam, now called New York in America. During the 18th century, they brought with them a Christmas cultural tradition in the form of a character called St. Nicholas. The Dutch settlers called him Sinterklaas. This popular mythical character was believed to travel to children's houses on the night of the 5th of December. There he'd drop off lollies, gifts and small toys into children's socks and stockings. On the following day, children would wake up to the pleasant surprise. During the 19th century, American households began to adopt this tradition, but they slightly changed the details. They had their jolly old fellow arriving on the 24th of December, Christmas Eve, and they changed his name from Sinterklaas to Santa Claus. This American cultural tradition was helped along by two creative works: Clement Moore's poem entitled A Visit from St. Nick, which we know better today as 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, and political cartoonist Thomas Nast's drawing of this new Christmas character. Thomas Nast was probably the first person who actually conceptualized Santa Claus and what he looks like. He got rid of the bishop's robe and the shepherd's staff and added a clay pipe. Then he shrunk Santa Claus down, but I might say he added 100 kilograms around his middle. And from this time on, a new man and a new tradition were born.
On my Christmas list I've many names and places,
Though we've never seen their faces, we know each one and the good they've done.
So, in some respects, this first father of Christmas, Santa Claus, doesn't matter whether we believe or not, but he does represent something very important in our world. We must never forget that. That's generosity, the giving and exchanging and the sharing of Christmas. You can learn a lot more about Santa Claus if you take a visit to our website. Now, after the break, we're going to have a further look in a warmer country, a look at the second father of Christmas, who's actually a distant relative of Santa Claus.
This program is brought to you by Wesley Mission.
Merry Christmas from Wesley Mission.
For almost 200 years, Wesley Mission has cared for the poor, the hurt and the marginalised in Sydney, throughout New South Wales and beyond.
So now it's reindeers to camels. We've thrown off the coats, we've left the coal, put on the sunnies, and we're here on the borders of Asia and Europe to look at a relative of Santa Claus, our second father of Christmas. The ancient ruins of Patara, the building blocks of a once thriving community. And if the stones could speak, I'm sure they'd take us on a journey and tell us the story of the second father of Christmas. You've probably guessed it, St. Nicholas. And he's the forefather of our Santa Claus. southern part of Turkey might seem a strange place for me to begin this story of a European saint, especially when this region has been associated with Asia for so many years. However, this is where Nicholas was born. Patara's history dates back into ancient times. Legend has it that this is the birthplace of the Greek god Apollo. During 1220 BC, the Hittite king built a temple in honor of Apollo, and pilgrims would travel to Patara to worship him. Throughout Greco-Roman times, this area remained an important city and a seat of power for the local governor. It was into this world, the Greco-Roman world, that Nicholas was born. Nicholas was no more born a saint than he was a bishop. That would come later in his life. He was actually born in the year AD 280, and it was rumoured that his parents were wealthy Christians, and we can assume that Nicholas himself became a Christian relatively young in life. The Christian faith arrived in Turkey 200 years before Nicholas was born. The Apostle Paul arrived in the region during the early part of the 1st century. For many years, the Christian message struggled to find a home in the region. This was primarily because Rome regarded Christianity as a secular cult, and therefore persecuted Christians, aiming to destroy them and their religion. However, around the time Nicholas was born, Christian persecution seemed all but over. After 200 years of injustice, now the Christian church was largely ignored. This newfound religious freedom meant that Nicholas could be educated by his uncle, a priest in the monastery at Xanthos. Here he could learn to read and write, and more importantly, understand what it is that Christians believe. After Nicholas' education had finished, the tremors of Roman persecution began. For Nicholas and the church, the future looked uncertain. Nicholas was relatively young when he left Patara, and he moved to the harbour town of Myra. And it was there that responsibility was placed upon him when he was relatively young, and all the attendant demands that came with it. So here I am at ancient Myra, where Nicholas moved to. And I'd like to show you around, firstly to show you the splendid theatre. While Nicholas was still young, legend has it that his parents died at this time, leaving him with a considerable amount of money. Instead of living off his parents' wealth, Nicholas decided to give it all away and become a priest. A brave decision, given the political environment at the time. During 303 AD, the eastern part of the Roman Empire was ruled by Emperor Diocletian. Diocletian was persuaded by Galerius, one of his advisors, to reinvigorate patriotic feeling and Roman culture throughout the empire. This meant more than just feeling proud to be Roman. It meant getting back to grassroots Roman culture, the public worship of Greco-Roman gods, and overnight, a new danger emerged for Nicholas and the church. No longer would his religious beliefs be tolerated. Christian documents were burned. Christian land was taken, and they were imprisoned and martyred. Out of these dark days evolved a modern Christian Christmas tradition. The Romans expected people to worship their gods and to attend their festivals, such as the winter solstice, which occurred around the week of the 21st of December. During the winter solstice, the Romans worshipped the sun god, celebrating with gifts and cards. Christians weren't going to be a part of these pagan celebrations, so some of them decided to celebrate the birth of Jesus, the Nativity, during this time of the year. This wasn't embraced by the entire church. Some Christians claimed that birthdays weren't to be celebrated since they were not a happy time. They cited the passage where Herod Antipas had the prophet John the Baptist killed during Herod's birthday celebrations. Despite these objections, by 336 AD, the Christian tradition of celebrating the Nativity on the 25th of December was recorded in the Julian calendar and had become a common practice for the Western Church. This persecution not only influenced the modern-day Christian Christmas tradition, but also thrust poor Nicholas into authority and to the forefront of Roman opposition. Local legend has it that the Bishop of Myra was imprisoned and killed by the Romans, and that left the church with a dilemma as to who would be the bishop. And when they talked about it, one of them that night had a strange dream. He said, "Whoever comes into the church this morning will be our bishop." And you've guessed it, 24-year-old Nicholas was that person. You have a feeling that if he'd slept in, history and Christmas itself might have turned out so differently. Overnight, Nicholas was elevated to one of the most influential and powerful positions in the church, and as a consequence, he had to stand against the emperor's decrees. Nicholas was commanded to honor the Greco-Roman gods. Nicholas refused, so he was dragged off to prison. No doubt the tombs carved into the hills around Myra were a reminder to him of what might be his likely end. Diocletian retired during 305 AD, and Galerius, who provoked the Christian persecution, became Emperor of the East. In a strange turn of events, Galerius had a change of heart. During 311 AD, the 61-year-old man was dying of cancer. It's said that he thought that his condition might be a curse from God. And some people think that Galerius sought to find favor with this God, so he ordered that Christians be released from prison. One of those released was the Bishop of Myra, Nicholas. Nicholas continued to minister around Myra until his death. He died peacefully on the 6th of December, 343 AD. His body was buried in the church at Myra. So how is it that a 3rd century Mediterranean bishop from here in Turkey should become so recognized throughout Europe and the rest of the world? In a moment, we'll try and answer this question.
This program is brought to you by Wesley Mission.
Merry Christmas from Wesley Mission.
For almost 200 years, Wesley Mission has cared for the poor, the hurt and the marginalised in Sydney, throughout New South Wales and beyond.
Here I am in St Nicholas's Church. This may look an old building, and it is, but it's actually on the site of the original church, which was the seat for Bishop Nicholas. And behind me you can see that excavations are going on this very day. As I've said before, not much is known about the facts concerning his ministry. But historically at that time, Christianity was moving into some of the most exciting years of its history. Emperor Constantine had legalized Christianity during 313 AD, and to some degree adopted it as a state religion. His mother travelled to Palestine and began to declare that a number of sites there were holy and sacred. Churches were built on these sites. Her trip became a catalyst for Christian pilgrimage from all over the Roman world. Churches in the Mediterranean wanted to cash in on this new business opportunity. So they built churches and shrines to encourage tourism. These places were thought to be holy and sacred in one way or another. The city of Myra had no special significance in itself. Before Christianity reached the city, it had been a worship centre for the goddess Diana, and the city had cashed in on its Greek-Roman tourism. It's actually said that Bishop Nicholas tore these shrines and temples down. Since Greco-Roman religion was on the way out and Christianity was on the way in, Myra had no particular historical attraction for pilgrims. After Bishop Nicholas's death, rumours began to circulate that his remains produced a healing ointment. This was a world without hospitals or medical support as we know it, and this attracted pilgrims and the sick from far and wide. During the subsequent years, Nicholas's good reputation, or that of his tomb, travelled all across the world and throughout the centuries. By the 6th century, he was regarded as a saint, and many churches were built carrying his name. By the 10th century, hundreds of myths and legends circulated about his life, power and good deeds. One legend claimed that during rough seas on the Mediterranean, sailors called out to Nicholas for help. With divine power, it said, Nicholas called out to the sea to be calm, and it was. From that time on, he became the patron saint to sailors. Another story claimed that Nicholas raised 3 children from the dead. From that time on, he became the patron saint to children. Another legend claimed that he attended the groundbreaking conference at Nicaea, which laid an important statement of Christian belief. Arius, born in Alexandria in 265 AD, comes along, and by the time he reaches the age of 60, his ideas about the Christian faith had started to make a real impact and a threat to the Christian community. Arius' attack claimed that Jesus wasn't the Son of God, and he also suggested that Mary wasn't a virgin. These particular assertions not only attack the Nativity story, the claims that Jesus made about himself, and the authority of the Bible itself, but the very foundations of Christian belief. Therefore, Arius' teaching had to be addressed. Christianity has many holy sites, and I suppose this one isn't one that everybody would think of, but Nicaea is a very special place. I'm in St. Sophia, it's right in the middle of Nicaea, the venue, of course, this town for the famous Council of Nicaea. And in the middle of that council, all kinds of things happen, but there's one thing that's a kind of legend that's attached to Nicholas, that he was there along with other bishops, and when Arius was speaking, he symbolically slapped him because he disagreed with the position that Arius took. As a result of that, he was apprehended, thrown into prison, but eventually let out to join the rest of the meeting. Now, there's no actual evidence that Bishop Nicholas attended that famous groundbreaking Council of Nicaea. It's in fact the 9th century before he appears on anybody's attendance list. The most plausible story for me, and one that really makes sense in terms of Christmas, is the story of a father who had 3 daughters. And each of those daughters would require a dowry. Now, a dowry is what a father paid to a husband when he wanted his daughters to get married. And the bigger the dowry, whether it's in money, land or possessions, the better class of husband. And this father hadn't got any resources to do that. And Bishop Nicholas heard about this. So one night he went down for the first daughter due to get married and put some resources and money into a sock and threw it through the window. Maybe it was a stocking. And when he threw it through the window, of course, everything was fine. And that happened 3 times. And the youngest daughter, on the occasion of the 3rd time that this happened, decided that she was going to look and to see who it was that had thrown that stocking through the window. And you've guessed it? It was Bishop Nicholas. This legend was picked up by European nuns in the 10th century, and they decided to copy his example. On the 5th of December, The eve of St. Nicholas Memorial Day, they dropped off food parcels for the poor and needy in their community. They claimed that it was a gift from St. Nicholas. Since St. Nicholas was also the patron saint for children, European families picked up this custom, leaving small gifts and lollies for their children. Around the same time as this tradition began, Turkey was under attack from a new religion, Islam. Muslim armies had attacked the region on several occasions and appeared to threaten many of the holy sites. In 1087, some priests from Bari had this adventurous idea that they were going to get hold and steal the bones of Nicholas and take them back to Bari. They feared that Nicholas's grave might be desecrated, while at the same time they saw an opportunity to encourage Christian pilgrimage to their own church. So they sailed from Bari to Myra and took those bones, well, most of the ones that they stole, back there. And today you can go to Bari and you'll find that most of the bones are there. Locals still believe they exude a healing ointment that can heal the sick. The remains that the sailors left behind in Myra are now on display in the Antalya Museum. St. Nicholas is still revered in many countries around the world, especially places like Russia. For those people, they regard Nicholas as the true father of Christmas. So in most respects, it doesn't really matter whether we believe Nicholas was a saint or all the stories and legends that surround him. But one thing that does matter at Christmas time is that we capture the spirit of what Nicholas was about, and not just for Christmas, but for all time. That's charity, caring for other people outside of our own basic unit. You'll be able to find out much more about Nicholas if you visit our website. After the break, we're going to take a look at why Nicholas did the things he did. And that will be a wonderful way of discovering our third father of Christmas.
This program is brought to you by Wesley Mission.
Merry Christmas from Wesley Mission!
For almost 200 years, Wesley Mission has cared for the poor, the hurt and the marginalised in Sydney, throughout New South Wales and beyond.
So now we've crossed the beautiful Mediterranean to another country in search of the third of our fathers of Christmas. The identity of the third father of Christmas is actually hidden in the story of the Nativity found in the Bible.
The Nativity story is about when Christ was born.
About, Mary and all that kind of jazz. I'm not really religious, so.
My mother, she told me about that. A manger.
Bethlehem, is it?
No, and the three kings and, yeah, all of that.
Not in great detail, no.
Yep, no, haven't got a clue about the Nativity story.
Nazareth in the Galilee is the place where the Nativity story begins, when Mary, as a young woman, is visited by an angel. She's fearful, as you can imagine, but the angel who announces the birth of a son reassures her, tells her she's highly favoured and she will give birth to a son and that they should call him Jesus. You can imagine Mary's surprise when she wasn't married and she was still a virgin. Her fiancé, a carpenter named Joseph, was also somewhat surprised by Mary's news, and he himself has not seen or heard of the vision and planned to call off the wedding. That was until God sent an angel, who informed Joseph that Mary's pregnancy was a gift from God, and that he should name the boy Jesus, meaning God saves. As the time drew near for Mary to give birth, Caesar Augustus, the Roman emperor, ordered that a wide census should be taken, so people had to return to their place of birth to register. Joseph wasn't actually born in Nazareth, but Bethlehem, so he took his pregnant wife Mary, and together they made the journey 120 kilometers south. When they arrived in Bethlehem, The place, as you can imagine, was so crowded that there was no room for them to stay. So they slept in a stable. That night, Mary gave birth to a boy. They named him Jesus. So who was the first to visit the new child? Well, of course, it wasn't Santa Claus, nor St. Nicholas. It was a few ordinary people, just like you and me. They were shepherds, bringing with them nothing more than a grateful heart. So who is our third father of Christmas? It's God himself. John's Gospel puts it so clearly. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life.
This program is brought to you by Wesley Mission.
Merry Christmas from Wesley Mission.
For almost 200 years, Wesley Mission has cared for the poor, the hurt and the marginalised in Sydney, throughout New South Wales and beyond.
Christmas, it's the happiest season in the year. It's celebrating Christianity.
But Christmas is really a religious festival, isn't it? And I always feel that we get completely carried away with the commercial side and forget all about that. It just seems to be part of the way that we live our lives.
I don't celebrate a Christian style Christmas, but perhaps some of those values that are intrinsic in a Christian Christmas are celebrated by all of us.
And just getting together with family and friends and just enjoying like the real meaning behind it. Like obviously some kids, enjoy like presents and whatnot, but to me it's more like Jesus Christ and just what he's done for us and all the sins that he's repaid for everyone. So yeah.
Bethlehem is just 8 kilometres from Jerusalem. Small in size at that time, but highly significant. This city of David, this house of bread, would be the chosen place where the Son of God would be born into this world. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, and today if you're to visit that place and you go to Manger Square, you'll find the Church of the Holy Nativity is built on that site as a reminder of the significance of that first Christmas. The Church of the Nativity now stands over a possible site where Jesus was born. The church we actually see today dates back to the 6th century. It stands on an original site where Emperor Constantine's mother had declared it to be the place where Jesus was born. When we go downstairs underneath the church, we find the grotto, the place where many still believe we find the original site of the stable. Christians from all over the world come here, some to worship, others to sit and ponder the meaning of the Nativity. For Christians around the world, Christmas is about Christ's Mass, the time of the year when they remember and give thanks to God for sending His Son into the world. In the true spirit of Christmas, and in the true spirit of Father Christmas, God brought a gift into this world for you and me, for your family and my family, and for all the lonely of the world. Unlike the other two fathers of Christmas, God's gift isn't dependent on you and me to give on His behalf. Rather, the gift is for us. The gift is life through His Son. God's Son was born, lived, died, and was raised to life so that you and I could be set free. This is what we might call full life, life with a capital L. It's a strange concept that God would give His life to people who are already living and breathing. But God's gift of life isn't just physical life, but spiritual, indeed eternal life. So I want to encourage you to inquire further, perhaps to receive the gift of life in Jesus Christ for yourself this Christmas. Could there be anything more wonderful than that? So thanks for being with us on this lovely Christmas day and being with us on a journey that's explored the meaning of Christmas in our search for the real Father of Christmas. We began in the chilly northern hemisphere as we talked about Santa Claus. And Santa Claus gave us an insight in the importance of being kind to our family and those around us. And then we went to the warmer climate of Turkey to explore Bishop Nicholas. And from Saint Nicholas, as he became, we have that story of how we should be kind not only to our families, but to those in need around us. But when we came to our third Father of Christmas, we came to the real heart of the matter, as we discovered that the greatest gift of all was God's gift of life in Jesus Christ. And that gift was for me, and it was a gift for you too. That will make the happiest of all Christmases, for you, your family, and for all this aching world. If you want to know more about our exploration into the meaning of Christmas and our exploration into the meaning of the three fathers of Christmas, why not visit our website at wesleymission.org.au. And don't forget, have a wonderful Christmas. I'm Keith Garner at Wesley Mission. God bless you. See you again. If you want to know more about God's offer of life by receiving a free copy of the New Testament, you can write to me, Keith Garner, Wesley Mission, P.O. Box A5555, Sydney South, NSW 1235. Or you can email me at tv@wesleymission.org.au. I'd like you to join me on Good Friday next Easter when I'll take you on a journey through the 7 churches of Revelation. And it's from this setting that he sends his round letter to all those churches, picking out 7 different places, and we're going to visit each of them on our journey together, flying through Revelation. If you'd like to find out more information on Wesley Mission's documentaries or buy a copy for yourself or a friend, you can contact us on 9263 5555 or email us on tv@wesleymission.org.au. And so whether you're with your family or at home on your own this Christmas, I want to wish you a very special and blessed Christmas. God bless you.